Okay, gang, I'm going to show you how to set up your Google Calendar. Now, for some of you, you already know how to do this, but for others, maybe we never have. And this is really essential if we want to have success in college. And as you'll see, every one of these, I'm setting up different calendars for different categories of things. And I'll put on the screen right now a list of different categories. There might be ones that you don't need to include. There might be some that you need to add. I don't know your entire life. But I think it's key to put your entire life on one calendar so you can see what's happening, where you need to be, what you need to get done. So over here on the left-hand side, as you see, I have created a series of different calendars covering different aspects of your student life. How do I get those calendars in there? Well, I'm going to add one more, and we're going to add one for due dates. So I'm going to say create a new calendar. And I'm going to click on that, and I can give it a title. And I'm going to call it due dates. Well, and this will include any major projects, exams, any big thing that you need to remind yourself, I need to get ready for this. I need to get this task done. So we'll go ahead and we'll hit create calendar, and we have to go back and we'll see right here it appeared. If I click on these three dots, I can choose what color I want this, and I'm going to make this one black. I think it's really important to have your different responsibilities in different colors. That way, visually, you can distinguish if it's for your sport, if it's for a class, if it is for your family, or whatever. And what you'll see is that you'll be able to make things appear or disappear on the calendar by clicking on here. So if you're saying, I just want to look at my class schedule, you'd be able to click everything off and see exactly what your class schedule is. And you'll notice I even include meals. That way we make sure that we are not overlapping things. If I have my meals even on my calendar, I can make sure that I'm not scheduling something like a meeting with a teacher when I need to be at lunch. So create these different calendars and then continue on with the video once you have all those created. Okay, so now you have your calendars created. Assign the colors that best represent that category for yourself. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start inputting things into our calendar. And most of you are athletes, so we're going to begin with our sport. So let's say you have weights from 6 to 7 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. What you'll do is you'll come over here on Monday and you'll double click and they'll open up this window where I can say weight training. And we're going to say that goes from 6 to 7:30. Okay. And what I want to say is, I want this to repeat since I got to be there 4 days out of the week, and it's going to be the same throughout the semester. I can go ahead and I prefer to go down here where it says custom and just click on that. And then I can say, okay, Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays and Thursdays, we're going to have it. And we want that to continue and end on, and the semester ends on December the 8th, and then I can press done. And then I want to make sure that I'm putting it under the right category, which would be my sport. And then I hit save. And you'll see it auto populates all the weeks ahead of time. So I'm not having to input it every week and redo all this work. Okay. So it'll auto populate. Now, let's say after weights, I have practice out on the field from um, 6 to 8. So I can double click on there. I can say practice from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Again, I want to repeat. I go custom and the days that we're out there practicing. And I'm going to say we're going to end this on December the 8th again. And I'm going to put my sport again. Save. Oops, I made a mistake here. So, what did I do wrong? Um, we're going to edit this custom. Oh, see, I did Saturday. We won't do that. Friday, done. Save, and we're saying all events. Okay. So you can see that sometimes if you make a mistake, it's easy enough to correct. You just double click on it and go fix the settings. So I have all of my weight training, my practice. Maybe I have a team meeting from 4 to 5. I can click on that. And so from 4 to 5, we have team meeting. And again, we're going to pick custom, but that only happens on Monday and Wednesdays. And we will again say ending on December the 8th. And I have that auto populate here on my sport. And there we go. So we have this all set up. And now we can go on to our next category. How you doing, man? Sorry about that. I was just recording something here. And let me pause it. Have a seat. Basically, just agreement. Okay. Just know that this one's yours because it has your information on there. So, how are you feeling, man? A little overwhelmed? Okay, good. Bio, that's a tough one. Well, we will be having this room in here is our tutoring center. So later on in the week, toward the end of the week, we will have posted times when tutors will be available. It's free of cost. So we do have a bio tutor, and she's amazing. Um, and you just come in, sit down with them. Don't need to make an appointment. You can get help. If the schedule doesn't work for you for whatever reason, then we can set it up for one-on-one. Uh, and we also have a writing center, which is this bathroom. So any papers that you're writing, that you want proofread, that you want help on, you'll be able to get help. So go ahead and fill out this information. Just read over the agreement. You're not going to be selling black market organs on the internet or anything with it. Okay, so you have your practices in, you have your gym time in, you have your team meetings in. Okay, how about games? Okay, will those happen less frequently? And let's say you have a game coming up on September the 5th, and it is a evening game from 7 o'clock to, let's say 10 is what you need to do. So you have a practice here. Well, obviously you're not going to be going to practice, so you could double click on that, and you could say, I'm sorry, uh, single click on it, and you can say trash it. Okay, so we open that space up, and it gives you the option saying this event, this and following events, all events. Obviously, we only want to do this event because that's the day we're not doing practice and we're having a game instead. So you click on that, it disappears. Then you can go ahead and input your game and say game versus GCU. And that goes from 7 to 9, does not repeat. And it is a game, and it's going to be red because I want that to really pop off my calendar to remind me and save. And there it is. So after you've done your practices, your team meetings, and all that, I would go in and put in all of my game schedule. That way you know where you need to be for your sport. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go to the next one. Okay, so we have our sport done. We have our games in. The next thing we need to input is our class calendar. So each of you have your schedule, and what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to input that into the calendar, much following the same format that we've done, and have it repeat up until December the 8th. And you can input all that information. And I would go ahead and do that now for your classes. I would input my meals. I would input chapel times. I would input, if you have a job schedule that you know is pretty consistent, you can input that. Family commitments, and all of these different categories, basically, let's fill those out. So go ahead and work on that. And then I'm going to show you what you're going to do with the syllabuses that I asked you to print out and have available. Okay, when you go to Canvas, each of your classes will have a syllabus. So you'll be able to click on that and download it and print it out. I prefer you to bring it printed out. That way, you're not jumping from window to window. It just makes life a little simpler. And when you go to your syllabus, you should have a section that looks a little bit like this, which is essentially telling you when your exams are, when your quizzes are, when your major projects are, and when those are due. So what you'll do is you'll go through your syllabus and find all the major exams, quizzes. I wouldn't worry about the week to week stuff. You should get into a rhythm where you're looking at your syllabus, what's due this week, and why do I have to read, and why do I have to turn, short questions that you have to answer. I wouldn't load down my calendar with all the minute detail on here, but I would look for the major quizzes and or tests and input those on the according date. And the way I would do it, let's go back to the calendar here. Oh, that's the wrong one. Is I would do it this way, where I know, let's say on September 18th, I have a major biology exam. Rather than putting that down here in the calendar section, I would go hover over here underneath the day and double click on there. And what that'll do, it'll create a banner. and I can say bio test, and that will be due dates. That's what we're doing. And that's an all day event. And we'll hit save. And what will happen? It appears right here above the margin. So no matter where I'm at, I can see that this bio test is coming up. So on Monday, when I'm looking at my calendar, I say, oh, I got a big test coming up. I need to make sure that I study for that this week. And maybe you have a paper due here. So I can say English paper, and we'll say all day again, and then due dates, and throw that up there. And we see English paper appears. And that way I can kind of foresee what's coming up this week. What do I need to make sure it gets done? And that I am finding time during the week in order to get that done. So I'm not writing my English paper last minute. And I can make sure that I'm visiting the writing center to have somebody proofread it and have plenty of time to get this done. So by putting all the major exams and projects and whatnot done up here, up above as a little banner, it kind of helps me foresee what's coming down the pike. So go through each of your syllabuses and look for the major things. I wouldn't be so concerned about the discussion questions because that's something that you will get into a routine. I got to do every week. I wouldn't be so concerned about some of the other little things. Make sure that you're doing all the major projects. Okay. So this is a look at my calendar, and you see how I have all this populated with different colors. You know, I have stuff for my daughter, so I know when she is playing a soccer game. When my son Nathan begins football in high school, I'll populate my calendar so I know when his games are. I have when church services, and I have all that information so I can look at the one calendar and know exactly what's going on in my life. But let's say I'm just saying, hey, I just need to look at my class schedule. If I unclick all this, it kind of takes all that stuff out of the running, and I can see just my class schedule. And that's why I like to have everything on a separate calendar and separate colors because it makes things a lot easier on my life. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. I can help you out so that you can get these calendars done. And remember, they will be due